Okay, I can see it. Okay, let's see. Three, two.
Bring that up a little bit closer.
No, if I bring it, I'm gonna cut you out. Okay, let's go.
Okay, 3, 2. Good afternoon. This is Attorney Talib Karim, Executive Director of STEM4US. I want to thank all of you for joining us today. And I want to thank the Almighty, quite frankly, because this situation in which we find ourselves, both here in the United States and around the world, is turbulent, to say the very least. We have bloodshed being spilled every single day in places as far away as Palestine, Lebanon, and Iran, as well as close to home as right outside of the White House, the nation's capital. This violence, particularly that being perpetuated by young people, is nothing less that some public health experts call another epidemic and nearly a pandemic. And so the question is, with the advent of artificial intelligence, AI, can we find new solutions, especially using the intellectual property of institutions that have been around in our community for over 100 years? And what I'm talking about in that respect are historically Black colleges and universities, such as Howard University, my own alma mater. But again, these HBCUs are, again, across the country, as well as now artificial intelligence. And with these two resources, we now have the power to finally hopefully cure violence as a public health condition. Finally, the White House recently announced that it was going to, in fact, begin funding both curative as well as preventative solutions to violence, finally. And we pray, as this is a pre-election town hall, that no matter who gets into the White House, that they won't go backward on that. In fact, we pray that they'll be racing each other to see who can go further, because that is where the solutions lie, we believe. So again, we want to just say how grateful we are, and we're going to first of all introduce our panelists and then recognize the sponsors, the people who were really sacrificing for this event to happen. And before I do that, I would be remiss if we did not at least recognize the Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, where we are currently in Arlington, Virginia, for graciously supporting this event, because literally this event would not have happened without her. And so we want to say to her, Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears, that we appreciate you. And we know that you wanted to be here with us personally. And we understand how things come up in the last minute. But we are grateful that you made this event happen by supporting it in the way that you did in your office. And we're looking forward to working with you and your innovative team to bring about, again, reductions in youth violence using artificial intelligence, and hopefully bringing to Northern Virginia. In Northern Virginia, you have a lot of technology. You have a lot of human capital. What you don't have in Northern Virginia are any historically Black colleges and university campuses. And we hope to bring about an end to that. So without any further ado, let me go ahead and just have everybody quickly introduce themselves, and we'll get this party started. Young lady to my right, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Aaliyah.
Aaliyah, and your last name?
Amalas.
And you are how old?
I'm 11 years old.
And what school do you attend?
I go to Tacoma Park Middle School.
And you want to do what when you grow up?
I want to help the community and be a great person.
I like that. Thank you.
Hi, I am Akou. I go by Akou Basse. I go by Akou Wellness.
Thank
I
you.
am a wellness, I would say, holistic wellness coach.
Thank you.
My name is Tony Starks. I'm President and CEO of Starks Industries. We're a management, consulting, and technology firm based in Washington, D.C. And I'm excited to be a panelist.
My name is Ronald, Molton, co-founder of Don't Leave DC, also founder of the Go-Go Music Museum in Washington, D.C.
Sharifah Masten. Excuse me. Sharifah Masten. I'm actually founder of Mission to Change, a nonprofit organization in DC, focusing on skills first and workforce development, as well as on the CHRO for federal contracting.
Excellent. And again, we have, again, my name, again, as I said, Talib, STEM4US, and we're grateful that Sharifah Masten, wearing many hats, is also our vice chair of STEM4US. And we want to recognize, again, our partners. In addition to the Lieutenant Governor, we have the Epicenter, and we have their CEO of Epigen, who is the home of the Epicenter, which is this beautiful space here, like a WeWork, if you will, but owned by African Americans. So we're very happy that they opened their doors to us, and we hope to have them here shortly to greet you all. In addition, we have one of our panelists is company Stark Enterprises, like the Tony Stark, but the real Tony Stark. He's here, and we appreciate their support. We also have the support of Abe Legal, a company, AI-based company that's helping law firms and government agencies utilize artificial intelligence to maximize their value. In addition, we also have David Owens, one of our partners, as well as, in fact, our board member, our chairman of the board. And then we also have our brother, Daryl Horton, a former Air Force Academy cadet, now engineer, one of the big plants out in California, as well as Samir Karim. And these are our partners, and we want to say how grateful we are to our partners for their support, along with the Socrates Language Institute, the Socrates Language Institute of Washington, D.C., and I think they even have a location in Virginia. So we want to, again, extend our gratitude to them all. And I see that the CEO of this fine establishment, Epigen, has just come. Let's have this young man come in and briefly welcome us before we start this conversation.
All right. Can I come in something?
All right, am I here? Well, you still can't see me.
You can come over there, brother.
All right, let's do
Here.
that. Let's do that. All right. Well, first and foremost, my name is Rashad Howard. Very glad to have everyone here. I appreciate you making the time to be in this space. Epicenter is something that we've specifically curated so that our people feel comfortable coming to a space where they can create, can dream and imagine and think bigger, and can take all of their talents to create the world that we want to live in. And so I'm just extremely proud and gracious that you all chose us for this amazing day, for this amazing event. And so I hand it back over to you, sir. All right. Thank you.
And again, this brother, you can see how, blackness is totally surrounds him. You would automatically assume that maybe he went to Howard University, but in fact, he went to the United States Air Force Academy, which is, again, a testament to the fact that this nation has tremendous resources, and we need to make sure that blackness, has a space in every institution, both in our government and in our universities and across the entire nation. So again, we salute both him and we salute the Air Force Academy that produced this young man, and we're very grateful to be here. So let's go right into it, and we'll start on. We're going to be kind of doing a little round robin, if you will, to left and right. And we'll start with Sharifah in terms of this conversation about youth violence in particular. Do you think that just merely having jobs, employment, is a solution, or do we need something more, such as mentoring or coaching or mindset transformation? What do you think, Sharifah?
I believe it should be a holistic approach, the whole person approach. Because if something is impacting an individual's life, whether it's when they're growing up to when they're an adult, and it's not addressed, it's going to continue to impact throughout everything they do. We can develop jobs for people, but we got to help them maintain that job, how to get further ahead in that job. So it's not just giving the skills. You can have skills, but if you're not using them to move forward, you're going to continue to move backwards. So I'm very big on the holistic approach. Mental health is very big. I believe families, if you impact an individual, you automatically impact their family in a positive way, right? Which will impact the community. And that's how we have to start thinking about how we're going to change how things are going now. We say at-risk youth, I think all youth are at risk, right? We talk about reentry. I know we're going to talk about that a little later, but it's still a holistic approach. You can't just address one factor for one person and think it's going to change their life all the way around.
And do you have any questions for the guests on your end?
Yes, because I know you're going to talk about how AI can help with this workforce development. And going over here to Tony, because I know you and I were talking about this yesterday a little bit, and today, how can we use AI to address workforce development, not just with our youth, but I think it also will help with the reentry as well. So how can we use AI tools?
And what is reentry? Perhaps you can talk about that as well.
So from my perspective, from a business owner's perspective, when I think about the use of AI and how it could help our community and not just reentry citizens that are coming in that were incarcerated and are coming back to make a contribution to society, but for the average person, who's looking to improve, their skills and get a job to increase their ability to make money at the end of the day. So we're focusing on implementing our business strategy with a focus on AI integration within the company. We work with partners who are doing it. We're a member of the Baltimore Cyber Range Symposium, and we've already implemented training programs that help residents in Maryland to train them in particular areas that deal with cybersecurity and things of that nature. But we're also looking at ways to implement AI within our company so that we could create efficiencies around how we bring new hires into the company. So we just had a young man who joined our company who was an intern from Georgetown University. And we said, okay, we'd like to do more of that, but we're trying to figure out how we can use AI to help us to better create more efficiencies within the company so that we have the budget funding that we need to bring more interns in to help. So we have several other initiatives that we're looking at. We're looking at ways to help students create opportunities for themselves to work in security clearances, which is a whole nother topic I think we can talk about. But we're just trying to find ways to embrace AI and make it a part of our basic culture.
Okay, I'm going to go from that with you continuing to talk about in the hiring practices. As a CHRO, it's very important for me because I think AI is great in a lot of ways, but we got to make sure that we're not just relying on AI to sort through resumes, right? A resume doesn't tell you the full story of a person, right? So we still need to make sure that there is a person involved in any of our hiring practices. There's been statistics lately, we're just talking about this, that companies are coming back saying they're getting resumes, but because so many people take their resume, put it into AI, say, please match my resume to this job description, 60% of the resumes are coming for technical positions. You cannot disseminate between them. So then then it does create more work for a human, right? A person to go in that actually needs to read through the resume. So how, that's one aspect, is how can we get AI to better interpret the skills we're really looking for, not just to match it, but how we can find that diamond in the rough, right? So I think AI is a powerful tool, but I still think we need to have some regulations or how we're using it. It's only, if we don't have some, hold on here. Go ahead.
So what I was going to say is, it's interesting that we're talking about AI and how it's going to be this savior, right?
Mhm.
In some ways it is, but one of the things that we learned, me, Dr. Hopkinson, who's the curator at the museum, we are one of a few museums in the world who are using AI technology and holograms to tell our story. And it was funny, the people who were building our exhibits, we were touching the screen, and then the information that was coming out wasn't always right. So what we found is when you go to the internet, somebody can say Christopher Columbus discovered America, but we all know that's not true. So it all depends on where AI is pulling from, whether you're going to get the truth. So what we learned was that we have to take all of our archiving and upload it to the AI and close it off with the truth, right? So you're trying to look for a certain employee, what you would do is upload what you're looking for, upload the things that you're looking for and seeing, and then it would make people have to do what's right and start telling the stories in their applications that you're looking for, not what AI is telling them to do. So it was just amazing in doing that. So now when people come into the museum, we know that the story that needs to be told is being told. Questions that we know people are going to ask and are important, they're asked, or let's say like it's not in there, right? We can guide people where they can get the information. So we send them to sources that we know to be true so that those things can get answered.
And it's interesting you mentioned that, because as you know, AI is based upon large language model.
Right.
And so the models have to be essentially trained, right?
Exactly.
So you have to actually, as you said, upload. And what greater source is there for uploading data about the plight of Black people than historically Black colleges and universities?
Exactly.
They are a natural conduit, or a natural repository of that data to solve these problems. But, I also think that, again, youth have a very important role to play as we talk about solving problems that impact youth. We have to, as a part of that uploading, have to upload their experiences, And so with that in mind, let me ask both this young lady and our beautiful mother, maybe talk with us about how is it being a young person, particularly at Tacoma Park Middle School. We know that in Tacoma Park there, sadly, I know that there have been both people who've gotten robbed, perhaps even going to school. I understand that there have been some shootings in Tacoma Park over the past year. As a young person, how do you feel going to school every day? Do you feel safe? Or is there things that we can do to make you feel safer, both walking to school as well as in school themselves? I mean, of course, we had the beginning of the school semester, a big shooting down in Georgia. Did that impact you as a student here in Maryland?
No, it didn't really impact me because since I feel safe at school, so when there's something going on outside of school, it doesn't really make me feel unsafe, but it will probably make some other people at school feel unsafe because some people feel unsafe at school. So.
And what are things what is going on in school that makes people, you believe, feel unsafe?
Probably like stuff that their parents probably taught them or teachers taught them.
Are there a lot of fights that go on in school?
No, not really.
Not that many? See, not at your school, huh?
Yeah.
And that's good. You know, there's probably at other schools, there are fights that go on in that school.
Yeah, there's probably fights at other schools.
So, Mom, you're a naturopath, you're a wellness coach. What are you doing, and why do you think AI can be used, in fact, to address some of the mental health issues that our students at school are confronting, and as you mentioned, maybe the parents are actually also confronting that may have a negative impact on their students?
Yeah, social media is a big one, right? With TikTok, Instagram, all the social medias that we know about, it's been a lot of students that have been impacted by that, or just people in general being impacted with AI and stuff that we can do as a people, as a community to alleviate that is how long are you on the phone for every day? Because when sister mentioned about mental health, that also impacts your mental health. What are you doing on your phone every day? Who are you following on your social media? What are you feeding yourself on social media? Because when we talk about holistic in general, food is not just what we intake in our mouth, but food is we feeding one another right here. Food is what we hear, what we watch, what we see, and so on. So environmental is very, very important. Your environment is important. The AI is great, but humans are greater. Okay, like we have to go in and implement what AI must do, right? So if I want to go and ask Google something right now, I have to type it. So AI is great again, but humans are better, and it's as a community, we have lost touch with one another. We have lost touch with ourselves. Sis also mentioned, what have you been through as a child that's affecting you now? Because a lot of us, we have been programmed to so many things, even as go to work, right? Go to school, find a job, work until you die. Now, a lot of us, we want to chase the bag, chase the bag, chase the bag, chase the bag, but you're chasing yourself, right? You have to chase yourself first before you can chase the bag. And that's where I come in. If you are not good mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, everything else around you is going to fall apart.
And as you were talking, especially with the young lady here regarding, what's going on in school, AI, if we have it right with the systems, as you say, integrating into some of our systems, when we're talking about social media, AI could be a great predictive tool in what is going on, even in a child's life, or, you can look at that and pinpoint areas that might need focus. I think that's an area where we can help students, right? Is it that how AI can help students is so that parents can have a little bit of a knowledge of what's going on, teachers, bosses, because what people put out there, it means something. I give an example. When I see someone go on LinkedIn and they say open to work, and if they're working at the company I'm at, first thing I'm doing, I'm on the phone. You open to work, wait a minute, what's going on? How are we going to retain them, right? People put things on Facebook, TikTok, and a lot of people, when they can't express it at school or at work, that's where they're expressing themselves. And you can hear the anger, you can hear the frustration. And I think that's how we can use AI, if we can figure out a way to help it as a predictive tool, in saying, hey, that's a red flag. Let's see how we can address it.
And can I bring into that conversation, as you know, the White House has suggested that hospitals should begin treating violence as a health condition that will then allow them to assign specialists to both address the impact of that violence in terms of rehabilitation, as well as working to prevent that violence. So when you think about, again, the inputs of that, why do you think it's important, Brother Molton in particular, to have organizations such as yours that has a very long history of being involved in terms of community restorative justice and violence interruption? And we know that violence interruption has been getting a black eye, if you will, and I don't even like to use that caricature, but has been getting a bad rap in Washington, D.C. But how do you think that, now with some of the groups that are out there can actually accelerate what they're doing? Because again, as Sharifah mentioned, these groups that are bringing in data and input it, now you have AI that can kind of more efficiently analyze it and make recommendations about which communities to kind of target, which individuals to target, you know what I mean, and which individuals to engage and perhaps, you know, bring in and see what can be done to prevent future violence.
I'd say this first and foremost is that, you know, just if you reference and look in the Bible or the Quran, we know that hurt people and heal people. So from that standpoint, interrupters and people who've been through change and people who've been through struggle are always going to be the part of the solution, because you get bit by the snake, the antidote comes from the snake. So it's just a natural and scientific method that's proven to work. When you start talking about technology, before we get to technology, we got to look at how we got here. We got here because we lost our way. We lost our history. We lost our culture. In Washington, D.C., when the control board came in, right, when they took Marion Barry out of office, took his power away when he came back to office, the first two things they did, they took away our trades and schools, and they took away our music. All right? So they took away the two things that put us in the middle class, but also was things that were passed down from generation to generation. Right? And then when you move forward to the technology piece, we got hit with all this technology, and then young people went to social media. Why? Because they took away all the venues and places that they were allowed to be youth like us. So they went to the internet, and then they started taking all this negative things that have been promoted through them purposely through music, through social media, through technology, and none of it is positive. So if every day you're digesting things that are negative, and then when you go to TV, you're watching the Housewives of Atlanta, and you're watching this, and you're watching that. All these things that you're eating are eventually going to come out. And I wrote an op-ed, I believe it was 2006, in the Washington Post. And I was talking about Grand Theft Auto. And I was talking about the impact that these violent video games were going to have on our community. Fast forward in Washington, D.C., throughout the world, the country, is Grand Theft Auto in real life. And a lot of our young people think this is a game. They don't look at it as something bad. And I told people back then, a young woman, right, who comes from a good family, could play Grand Theft Auto every day. And she might not steal a car, but now she'll get in a stolen car because she's been so desensitized from doing it more than 30 days in a row. And now she doesn't think there's anything wrong with it. So technology and positive platforms are things that we can use to make it cool not to be a fool. So we use these platforms, if we use the AI technology to make sure every time a young person is going through something or feeling something or wants something, seeking something, is something positive, and we can kind of deal with these forces and create our own platforms, because we know that people who oppress us are never going to like just give us something, you know, without a fight that's going to move us forward. So you thinking Facebook and Instagram and TikTok is going to give us what we need to move our people forward without us making it cool first. We got to make it cool first, and then everybody else will follow. Anything that we make cool, everybody else follows. So we need the technology, we need the AI, we need all these things, and we got to add our culture and our swag to it, right? And make it cool, and then everybody else, because we're money driven, this is a capitalist society, everybody else will follow that because now it's cool to use those forms of technology. So I think that AI can be used, but we got to remember that all we're doing is programming robots, right? To do what we want them to do. So we have to take control of that narrative that we want to see.
If I can just on that point, something that you yourself, and I'm sure that Brother Starks understands the power of in terms of using technology, is that recently you used technology to challenge a multi-million-dollar corporation, And Pizza, and the company that owns And Pizza, that had put out some really negative content about not only the former mayor of DC, who, and we have some of our students from Lemoyne College, which is in Memphis, Tennessee, my students down there, they know that the former mayor of Washington, D.C. is an alum of Lemoyne College. And so they had some really negative information about a sliver of his history, only a sliver, that was really tainting the entire
It was legacy.
community of Washington, D.C., not him,
Yeah.
but us.
Yeah.
It was taking us.
Yeah.
And you, using technology, social media, called out for a boycott. And that had an economic replication, or an economic implication, if you will, that brought about, again, a change for a multi-billion-dollar company. And you talk about things being cool. You know, why is it, and Brother Starks, I want you to get in, why is it that, again, this type of activism, right, which is definitely, it's worked, because we see it work. Why is it that, you know, companies are not, meaning say young Black companies or, 8A companies like yourselves, you know, are a little hesitant to basically get involved with that type of activism? Activism we need, but they're afraid. What do you think? And can AI perhaps, empower you to do that more often?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And one of the, one of the challenges with small businesses like mine is that, we're trying to leverage AI to create opportunities to hire more people in the communities that look like us. So that's one of my objectives as a small business owner, and as a certified Hub Zone small business, we have a requirement to hire a certain number of, or percentage of employees that live in, I guess they used to call them economic zones or hub zones, right? So we want to find ways to leverage technology to do more of that, right? But in terms of being able to step out into the political arena, sometimes as a corporation, we have to be very careful that we strike a balance, right? So sometimes I work from behind the scenes, and make donations to efforts that make sense to me, that are doing the right things. And sometimes I utilize partnerships, to take action in areas that are of interest, that are similar to the goals and the objectives of my personal growth, right? Because I've got business strategic goals, and then I've got personal goals. As a native Washingtonian myself, and a graduate from Hampton University, the real A2.
Oh. All right, so I'll tell people you want to take it to another level.
Okay, all right. Only in football.
No, but I think it's our responsibility to not only ourselves personally, but as a community, we have to say something when there's an issue that impacts our community. And, like I said, it's always a balance you have to strike in terms of where do you put your money, what do you fund? So events like this, this is exactly what I'm committed to funding, these kinds of events, and it's part of my budget, but you got to have an intentional purpose to do that. So in some businesses, just aren't, like I said, it's a personal goal that you have to blend in with your strategic goal within your corporation.
I'm glad you mentioned where do you put your money, right? It's so I teach dance classes. So with my dance classes, make it cool for people to come, right? So I make it very fun. However, I find that, or even all my services, I offer detox classes, meditation classes, and so on. But I find that our people are enslaved in the mind, right? So when you say where do you put your money, someone will tell you, yeah, I don't have $100 to come to a dance class or a meditation class, but you have $200 Jordan on your feet. Right? So,
or $1,200.
Yes. So it's not that we don't have the money. Come on, people, we're rich, okay? We are rich as a people, but we are not putting the money in the right places.
That's right.
And that's what's really destroying us as a people too. We have to put our money where stuff that are going to elevate us as a people, in stuff that are going to help our community as a people. And that's one thing we need to focus on. Health. Your health is wealth. And a lot of us don't have it. When we look at us, we are the sickest community in the world.
Mm.
Diabetes, cancer, high blood pressure, mental issues, it's
Come on.
us. A lot of us are using drugs instead of going back to nature,
Mm.
going back to what our ancestors did, which is herbs, which is go back to grounding your feet, go back outside. And those are the things that I focus on. Yeah, the money is great now. The money is fantastic, but you are not ever going to use the money if you don't have the help.
Could I just add to that? We were talking about businesses, and this is something I'm very big on. If you are a business owner, you need to know the community that your business is in,
Teach.
right? You know, people go, they're like, oh, I'm going to open an office in DC, but they could be living in California. You got an office, know who's around, because that's where you need to get back to. If you understand your community, you can better create jobs for those that's going to be impacted right here around you. And so, you know, even as a small business owner myself, I want to hire those around me. You know, yes, I have clients in other places, but my gosh, if I'm here in DC, I need to create jobs for DC. But I also need to understand not just the person, but that neighborhood, right? What are their concerns, right? How can I help address that? Is there anything I can do? You know, not just hiring a person, but understanding what their environment is very important. So if you're going to be a business owner, it's not just for you and those within your walls. It's for those around you that you come into every day. You know, we're fighting right now about some people wanting to go back into the office. You know, they're like, oh, but I can do my work from home.
Right.
I think it can be a distraction at times. I think it's good to work from home. I'm kind of a hybrid person. Everybody's coming back starting next week, 3 days. But the reason is, as you said earlier, we are people. We thrive on interaction with others, right? We lost that during COVID. We forgot how to socialize, right? And collaborate. You know, like when you're sitting here, it's that energy of having a discussion like this you do not get when you're sitting at home. You don't always get it from a Zoom call, right? Because most people turn their cameras off, right? I'm guilty of it. But I feel that we are missing, you know, being able to even touch somebody, talk to them. We're missing our human side that makes us who we are, who makes us unique. So I just wanted to add that just from a small business, you know, owner, as well as what Tony had said earlier.
And if I may follow on that point, at the human side of even the AI solution is, you know, as you know, AI is all about creating databases, from knowledge bases, right? It's populated with data, and you know, it's giving out answers, right?
Right.
But the human has to make a decision about what those answers are.
Exactly.
So that human side.
And how to utilize the data that comes from those answers.
Exactly.
You know, I was going to ask this young lady in particular, if you could tell me yourself, one, have you used AI yourself? Have you used ChatGPT? Have you heard about it, or have you seen some students using AI to do their homework, maybe? Have you heard about that?
So there's this app called Goth, and my friend was using it for her homework because it was due that day, and it was like after school, but we were still in the school building. That was yesterday.
She done told on her friend.
So when she was doing that, her phone wasn't connected to any Wi-Fi, so the app wasn't really working. So she said that she would just turn it in on Wednesday and let it be late. But the thing is, the quarter ended, so she probably will get a 0 on that.
And that's a real life example that you can't rely upon AI to do what you're supposed to be doing. But on the other hand, my students, I actually give them the freedom to use AI in their assignments because, again, it's teaching them how to become prompt engineers, right? How to ask the right questions and how to use the information. Because sometimes I've seen my students just give me verbatim. So then I asked them, I said, well, they had this one acronym that was used. It was a convention on trade or something related to that. So I said, well, what does the CISM mean? And they couldn't tell me, you know what I mean? So I had to push them. So again, that's what we as teachers and professors, we're going to have to train our students on how to become good prompt engineers, how to both push the computer for what you want, and then how to extract the exact information, not just take everything and put it on the paper, right? Like this young lady tried to do.
Hey, Talib, I was just going to say real quick to the young lady, talking about school. There are some schools in Virginia and Maryland who block like ChatGPT or GOF so that the students can't use it because there's not a law yet, right? Because they want to make sure that you as a student are learning and doing the work. I mean, back in my day, we had to use encyclopedias.
I know.
Right? And read through them,
I know. World Book.
Yeah, World Book,
Britannica.
Yes.
They can't Google.
Yeah, we couldn't Google it back then, but they're blocking it. And part of that is what's important is for our youth is how do we make that balance to make sure that they are gaining the knowledge and knowing how to find that knowledge and not relying on AI to do their book reports or to find those answers.
And one of the things, if I could, is, going back and put my professor hat on, I told my fellow faculty members that, we have to get beyond that because now it's all about time. How can you better use the time that you have? And so again, a book report that would normally take, a day or two for my students to turn back to me, instead of them doing that, I can give them an assignment relating to finding a resource in the company that we've been studying, which is the company that provides the data that GOF, which is XAI, finding out how we can get a contract from XAI. You know what I mean? So instead of just doing a book report, they can actually use the real life, experience because they don't have to spend their time doing something that a computer can do for them. They're still learning the key information, but they're not having to go through the hours and hours and hours and hours of work that was required. I mean, I don't know. What do you think, bro?
I was going to say that what I think that people can't miss, everything is about balance.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So the people who still do things the old-fashioned way are going to be so important than ever before because even with AI, you got to put the information in.
The right information.
The right information, and it has to be true.
Right.
At some point, it's going to be about fact checking.
Yes, sir.
So people who have the archives and the information and the facts and the history, at some point, they're going to be more valuable than people who are just taking stuff and abstracting it and not knowing whether it's true or not.
That's right.
So it's almost like at some point, corporations, schools, and people who building things are going to say, no, I'm going to go to this company because they have an archive of factual information.
They actually have books.
Right. They actually, and they still studying,
Right.
and they still gathering information because you cannot build AI off of just anything. Because I give you an example when I was talking about the AI exhibits we had. So when Professor Hopkinson initially went to check the sources, we had some sources from Wikipedia.
Right.
You can't trust Wikipedia for those sources. So what I'm saying is, but what if you become an engine of true sources coming from our people, right? Or just good people who just give factual information out. That's going to have more value than ever before because people, they don't want to have time to go back and see if it's true or not. They got to have sources that we can believe in and go get that information. So even with the AI, people who gather and archive and produce accurate information, you're going to be just as important as the technology. So I think we have to understand why like the Morgan Spingarn at Howard University,
Right.
they got more history at Howard than anywhere.
Right.
So just think of that one institution at Howard that has archived all this history. Because I know we're going to be giving them some history from the museum, right? Because other people didn't want it and they were BSing about it. So when they finished building, right, the new archive center or whatever you might call it, we'll be working with them to give them our archives because we have to have central places that we trust to get this information. And then if we take institutions like Howard and Hampton and use those institutions to take all this information and start dumping it where our children are going to want, because they don't want it the old-fashioned way. So we have to cater to what they want, but we got to make sure we giving them the right stuff. Like when my son came into the museum and I saw him and all these little 5, 6, and 7-year-olds running around and touching the screens and happy and putting their headphones on, right? And when I took them to the African American Museum that had hundreds of millions of dollars, they wasn't doing that. But because we went another route with holograms and this and that, when the young people walk in there, they're like, you know, you feel what I'm saying? We know how to reach our children now. We just got to make sure they're getting the right information and factual information that's going to elevate them, not destroy them, like a lot of the content and technology is doing now.
Right.
You know, as a lawyer, I'll say one thing also to add to that.
Mike?
Is the intellectual property that is being created is actually, that is really where the value is. Artificial intelligence right now is in a gray zone.
Right.
Because it's really borrowing other people's intellectual property
to
now create new intellectual property, you know? And so the debate is whether or not the new intellectual property is the property of the people whose, you know, original works were used, right? Or whether it's the works of the people who created it. And so I think that Black people and Black institutions are going to be very, very valuable to the growth and development of AI. But it's going to take us to really make an intentional effort to be on the cutting edge. And that's the reason why I'm very proud that, you know, leaders such as Sharifah Masten and David Owens and some of our board members, they get it. They understand that we can't be left behind, that we have to be on the forefront, and we're very much interested in making sure, again, our young ladies like this young lady and our moms are empowered, and that they have the tools that they need to make sure that their children, because really, Brother Molton, you said that there need not be any children, if you use AI correctly, there need not be any children who, again, have a need to steal. Because, again, if you have some of these AI tools, you can ask the tool in your pocket, how can I make
money
$100 today? And it will give you
several
ways you can make, and none of it are illegal. You know what I mean? If you ask it. And that's the power, the possibility. The same way you can magnify, how can you make $1 billion? You know what I mean? So again, this is the type of thing that if we are serious about this, and I'm glad that, again, we have institutions such as the Epicenter who are making this conversation available. If we're serious about this, this can be a game changer for our people.
I want to add to that. So when you say how can you use AI to make money, as a content creator, I see that a lot of other races are using AI to make money, but a lot of our people are using it as entertainment. So it's not that the social media is the bad thing, but what you're watching, what you are doing with it. I have social media. When I go on there, I go to teach, I go to learn, and I bounce. That's it. That's my goal. So have a goal when you go on these platforms. What am I here for? But again, it starts in the mind. I wasn't like that before, right? It took me years to get here. It took years of a lot of inner work, a lot of past trauma healing, and a lot of taking accountability of what I was doing myself, right? And those are the stuff that we have to focus on too when it comes to health. What part are you taking? What part, and are you honest with the part that you're taking, and are you willing to change what you're doing within your community so your community can have a better impact? And when it comes to AI, again, it's wonderful, it's powerful. We just have to know how to use it.
That's right. Go ahead.
So talking about AI and social media platforms, so we had a lesson about screen time in health class, and it was saying about how most teenagers post deadly stuff, and there was a video that we watched that a girl took a picture and she was in the hospital wearing like a bunch of bandages, and she said, and the caption was, "I'm still alive." So she was probably recording something and doing something, and then after that, she went to the hospital and she's giving feedback about what happened after that.
And let me ask you, does that make you feel good to see people posting, things about that, or would it be better to see people, posting things, even using AI tools to suggest, things that are more positive, like working out, like some of your mom's classes, or studying, or poetry? I mean, how do you feel about that?
I feel like social media changes a lot of people and makes people feel like, oh, if I do something like this, people will probably think I'm
Cool, right? And did you know that it's artificial intelligence algorithms that are actually behind and responsible for choosing what images that people see and what images they don't see? Did you know that? And there you go. Again, this is the idea of this conversation about the conversation about artificial intelligence. This is what you said. It can be a game changer one way or the other. The question is, are we going to allow ourselves to be, gamed once again, as technology oftentimes does to Black people? Or are we going to be, again, players and maybe even developers of the game?
Yeah, and to the young lady's point, there's ethical concerns about using AI, and there's a responsibility for using AI and social media, and that needs to be taught. And part of the things that we're looking at is how do we introduce sort of AI as a model for training students. And I was thinking about students at the HBCU level, at the college level, making sure that AI training is adopted and taught at the college level. But just listening to the young lady's point, that it needs to be at the elementary, middle school level as well. You have to teach what some of the positive things are and how you can turn social media or AI into a positive outcome. And I think it's taught. So I wanted to add that point, because from a business perspective, we're trying to find ways to implement AI so that we can create business opportunities to expand our revenue base for our company, right? So we're still exploring what those are, and we're very careful. We know that some of our federal government customers have implemented databases within their agencies, and they have closed the access to those databases, so everybody can't tap in and ask those questions and get those negative results or negative answers back from their chat FEMA or chat, whatever the agency is. So we are very interested in finding ways to help our federal partners, government agencies that we support, to implement AI. But it's got to start with a training component, which I believe now even more so should start in middle school and even all the way up, to college.
Can I just add to what Tony's saying? When you're talking about agencies and everything, and that this is a whole nother discussion.
Yes, it
when
is.
you're talking about
Absolutely.
AI, but the other thing is, how do you protect information?
That's right.
Right? When you talk about HIPAA from a health perspective, or PII, personal information, how can we use AI and still protect that information? Right. So I think that, I know that's another discussion, but
Yeah.
No, I
one
think
of the reasons why
I think
the
it's
government closes
relevant.
down.
I think it's relevant.
Absolutely.
And one of the things I mentioned this to you, and I want you to kind of start us in closing out, Sharifah, is that there are software out there. One is called Case Text, that's now owned by Thomson Reuters, and another is called Spellbook. What they do, and this is particularly used for lawyers to protect attorney-client privilege information, as well as PII and HIPAA. And they, again, have a closed universe of data. So you are not uploading it to the cloud, you're uploading it to a designated database, storehousing your data. So everybody, again, is learning from that. So that's one of the key mechanisms. But, this is just the beginning. It's a tip of the iceberg. There's so many more ways in which we're going to be able to do the things that you said, even in terms of classification, again, to determine who gets, secret clearances, and who, and again, secret clearances, as as historically taken some cases a year or more. Now with AI, we're going to be able to accelerate. We're going to be able to accelerate the issuances, and hopefully going back to re-entry programs, again, training young people who are incarcerated in IT skills. Hopefully we can come up with a whole new level of clearances for them, because you won't have the luxury, you can't have the luxury of somebody just recently coming out of incarceration to basically have a 5-year or 6-year, type of, you're gonna have to do it maybe even quarterly, just to, until they graduate to the next level. But Sharifah, if we could, as we have about 5 more minutes to wrap up, can you give us your last projections again about how AI, how HBCUs, and organizations like ours and your own can work together to bring about some phenomenal results in the future, and what you see as the possibilities?
I see the possibility growing, but you said something right there, together. We have to do it together. One organization is not going to be able to do it on its own. We have to be able to collaborate. The HBCUs would be great hubs for this, like you're talking about, like a technical hub, right? I think the other thing working with HBCUs is we're getting away from everybody needing a degree. They need some technical skills, right? So we need to start thinking
Certification-based programs.
Certification, but also if you have a degree, they got to be able to path it back to those skills, right? So that someone does graduate and they're able to walk in and get that job.
That's right.
Right now, if you have the cert, you'll get hired over someone with a 4-year degree.
That's right.
But if the HBCUs helps with this, it's going to open the doors to people who thought they couldn't go to college. They're just taking another route through that college.
That's right.
Right? So they get that cert, they're going to continue to want to learn.
That's so true.
We have to do it together.
I would just close with saying that getting into this space, not intentionally. I was just at the African American Museum Conference, and I saw this technology, and I pivoted to how we were going to do the museum, just that quick. I'm talking about a little bit over a year ago, right? Just seeing where we at, I just think that we have to come together, like you all are saying, and create a united force that's going to uplift us and humanity. And we have the opportunity to do that in so many ways. And the reentry community, they're so talented. And, a lot of people just get it confused. The FBI, the CIA, they use people from prison to deal with hackers, right? So why can't we go into prisons and get people who are ready to change and teach them how to be the change agents of their community, like everybody we saw in the Bible? Why can't we do that? So, we started this years ago, over a decade ago, when we came up in my office with the terminology, returning citizens, right? And we enacted that. And then one day I see President Obama, after the city council in DC made it law, that you couldn't call nobody a convict anymore, right? We saw that terminology. So we are all citizens, right? Whether you're returning from prison, or you were born here, or you came here looking for a good life, right? And you want to be valuable to our society. We all need to be a part of this change and craft what we want to see. All these robots that we're empowering right now, these bots are going to destroy this world. AI can be something very powerful and good for humanity, or it's going to destroy humanity.
I agree.
Just
start.
Yes, sure. So just very briefly, my closing remark is that we're gonna adopt AI within my business. We're gonna find ways to come up with creative solutions to help our customers. I mean, that's what we started the company with that intention. AI is just another technology that will help us to deliver our services, quality services to our customers. And I look for more opportunities to support your organization and partner for success, partnership for success. That's what we do at Starks.
The real Tony Stark.
The real Tony Stark. There you go.
Yeah, I would say as a parent, my child will tell you here, I'm on them on what they watch, right? So as parents, we have to, I know in the Black community, it's a lot of single parenthood households, but we can also do our part. It's not that easy when you're trying to work, take care of kids, take care of yourself, but we have to also be intentional of what are our children watching when they go into these phones and the laptops. And I'm excited to, of course, it's always been a pleasure to be part of such an amazing movement. So thank you for having me and my little me right here.
Excellent.
I just want to say that people can't bring you down. You can only bring yourself down, and you can only bring yourself up. And you have to work together to do that, and not let people's words get to you and tell you what you can and can't do.
Amen. Go ahead.
Well, I want to say in closing that this has been an amazing conversation. We could really go on for hours.
Yes.
I think, and that we must continue this dialogue. This can't just start from here, stop here. Especially my students who have reports to write. You all have to be empowered to take this conversation, incorporate it within the scholarship that you are producing, and go to that next level. Go to that next level. And one of the things in particular I want to leave you with is something that the Imam said in the Master this morning. He said that the Almighty has created everything. And in Arabic, there's a word that says, "Khalaqa Allahu kulli shay'in." Shay'in are beings. And in the end of time, when we are all again brought to account to the Almighty, the shay'in that again has been created by the Almighty will testify. And as a lawyer, I know testimony very well. Testimony can either be for you or against you. So the AI that we've created, right? The phones that we have, the cars that we've driven, the money that we have in our pockets that don't really belong to us, but belong to the Almighty, even our own skin will actually either say, hey, Brother Molton, he stood up for right. Or they will say, hey, this young lady had the ability to correct a wrong, but she chose not to. This is the thing that we have to always keep in mind. And so, as you said, right, believe me, so AI cannot replace principles and morals and values. And that is where we close. We pray that the Almighty will empower us to use this new this new technology for right. And again, I want to just say how grateful I am on behalf of STEM4US for the partners who work together with us, from Epigen, the home of Epicenter, to the Lieutenant Governor of this great state of Virginia, or the Commonwealth of Virginia, to Stark Enterprises, Abe Legal, Samir Karim, David Owens, our board chairman, and Daryl Horton. We really appreciate you guys for supporting us. And we need all you all support. So we hope this won't be the last time. We look forward to coming down to Virginia State University. Actually, our next program will have the first ever AI Ag Tech Hackathon. And if you are interested in AI, then wait until you see what students can do with AI to fix problems such as food deserts. We're coming down there, and we look forward to working with you in that regard. Thank you, and have a wonderful day or evening.
Can we breathe now?
Good job.